And welcome back to another episode of Two Addicts and a Moron. No longer counting. I've lost count of how many episodes we're in, so I'm not doing that. So it's just a welcome back and a how you doing, and we are excited to be back. We brought on a guest. We got this guest a little bit different. I think different than any other time, right?
Yeah, I think so. You might be the first.
Well, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, Miss Emily Bond.
Hello.
Yay!
Well, do you want to know the story of how I kind of found y'all?
I would love to. So we're going to get to that in a second.
Oh, okay.
But
Cool.
we have a tradition
Yes,
that we
we
do.
first. Yep.
That we have a couple that we
Okay.
do. So in the center, Joey the Moron.
To the left, Jay Klein.
Mike Stuboy, recovered addict, meth, GHB.
And you're so special, you get to introduce yourself twice.
I'm Emily Bonds, and I used to drink Chardonnay like water.
All right.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Nice. And then to our second tradition.
Yes. Before every episode, we make sure we recognize and remember those that are struggling and those that are not here with us with the moment of silence. So let us bow our heads, close our eyes, get centered, get present for this episode. Let's think about the addict that's still out there struggling, their friends and family members that are struggling with them, and the addict that could not be with us here today. Let's take a moment of silence. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I do want you to tell us how you found us.
Okay.
So get into that. Tell us how you found us.
Okay. So y'all had a previous guest who I follow on TikTok.
Uh-huh.
And
Who was that?
Who is it?
what was her name? Because I'm really bad. Like I said, I'm bad at names.
Rachel?
Rachel.
Yes.
Yeah, like everybody on the
I mean,
planet
Everyone in the
follows
world follows
Rachel.
her
So I
TikTok.
was
Just in case.
So because the intrawebs, they track all your information, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like she always shows up on my For You page. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And then somehow on YouTube, she showed up with being here.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, they look cool. That looks like fun. So I like listened to a couple episodes. I was like, oh, that's really cool. And I have a friend who I do pageants with, and she'd been on like all these podcasts. And I was like, well, how do you do that? And she's like, there's Facebook groups where people post about podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, no, there's not. That's not real. Like you're making that up. And y'all were in there, and I was like, wait, I just listened to them like 3 hours ago. I'm gonna randomly message them and see if my friend Elaine is right, where people actually answer back to random Facebook messages. And so I messaged y'all, and here we are.
Yep.
So to all
Yeah.
you people out there, let that be a lesson to you. Talk to us, respond to us. We are going to get back to you. We are not that big of a deal. I promise you.
Well, yeah. Well, y'all are probably like, who is this girl with like? Because my I have used my pageant headshot because I paid a lot of money for those pageant headshots.
Yeah.
So I use them for everything. And so y'all are probably like, who is this over airbrushed weird? Like so much eyeliner. Like there's a lot of eyeliner in those photos. Like. But I love them. I love them. Des, if you're watching, you do fabulous work. But so y'all are probably like, who is this AI generated woman? But
It's a bot.
yeah, it's a bot. A bot wants to show up. It's Apple trying to get on the show.
No, we always respond to them.
Yeah, we
always
love
respond.
messages and comments. So guys,
Yeah.
we love message. And we do respond.
We're always going to respond.
We always
and,
respond.
And we couldn't be more excited to have you on. Thank you so much for coming to visit with us.
So you got Rachel over here to say hi.
Yeah,
Rachel's one of the coolest people you'll ever meet.
Oh, really?
Super
Yeah.
humble. So humble.
she's one of the coolest people ever.
Awesome person.
So tell me a little bit about yourself. I got to know a little bit about you the other night when we had spoke, and I know that you are a mom and you are a wife, and you 9 and 3.
9 and 3. I have a 9-year-old and a 3-year-old. Been married to my wonderful, beautiful husband for about 14 years now.
With fantastic shoe
Yes,
representation
he
too.
and his wonderful Jordan.
Sickness.
Yeah, it's very big. Like I'm like, you know, if you're going to spend $600 on these shoes, can I have $600 to, I don't know, maybe not buy clothes off Amazon, maybe get some actual name brand jeans
Yeah.
or like a sweater that doesn't come from who knows where.
Well, how is he going to buy his shoes if he lets
I
you do
know,
that? You
I
know, like
know.
what? So you're not going to support him, Scott. I support you, brother. You ever need backup? I'm your guy. All right. You get with old Joey the moron over here, and we'll get you hooked up.
So he favorited a pair. Speaking of the Jordans, it was and he's going to kill me for saying this. He has on this app, he has a list of Jordans he likes, and one of them is a Dior.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Y'all want to know how much those are?
I'm going to take a wild guess.
Go ahead.
I think they're like 10 grand.
$9,000.
Yeah.
And I told him, it's like, okay, honey, if you want to spend $9,000 on Jordans, I get to get a custom Sherry Hill gown for my next competition. And he's like, well, how are we going to? He was like, well, they're just a dream. I was like, well, I have dreams too.
Yeah.
Like, I have dreams.
Well, I want to get into, the reason why you started listening to us and why you're here. But what was your drug of choice?
Chardonnay, stouts, gin, whatever alcohol I could buy at the store.
Yeah.
I was at one point during the pandemic, I was about having maybe 4 bottles a day
Of wine?
of wine.
Okay.
And Scott didn't quite realize how much wine I was buying because we had drive up for HEB. And since I'm the mom and the mother, I cook all the food. I do all the ordering of the groceries. And we were ordering so much stuff off Amazon, I would just put it in the Amazon boxes and put it in the, for recycling because I live in Katy, Texas, and we believe in recycling. So he was kind of wondering, what's going on with you, but I didn't really advertise. I suffered with addiction for a very long time, and I just kept it under the radar. But since we were locked in the same house, I kind of had to figure out how to get creative. And so that was, as we all know, when we're in active sickness, we get real creative to hide stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
that's interesting that you say that about, I never would have thought of doorstep delivery being a tool to better mask or hide.
You could get margaritas delivered to your house during the pandemic. Okay,
Right.
So I have a story.
Yeah.
So Scott, I think Scott was traveling, and I had Favor. I had Favor deliver me a 6-pack of, I think, Shiner, because that seemed like a good idea. And I also had them deliver me 3 margaritas from Torchy's
Okay.
because that was a good idea.
Yeah. They
And-
still do that. That
Yeah.
didn't
Oh,
stop
yeah,
after
still do.
COVID, man. They
They figured out they can make money.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why alcohol industry is like a $6.5 trillion juggernaut.
Yeah.
Which is why they don't have those black labels on things saying how poisonous it is.
yeah.
But yeah, I had that all delivered to my house. Scott was away on business, and at the time, like we had one son. He was, I don't remember how old Birdie was. It was in the beginning of the pandemic, so I guess he was about 4. He was asleep. He went to bed at 7:30, and I was like, I've got all night to party by myself. And that's what I did. I also ordered a pizza, and I don't remember what I watched on Netflix, but I drank, I think, almost all the beer and the margaritas.
Yeah. It's a lot of booze.
Yeah. I also was about 225 pounds at the time. I was big girl. I'm not big anymore. Because it's amazing when you stop drinking how much, I don't know how y'all were back in the day, but you drink and then you want to eat.
Yeah.
So I could down a lot of food because your ambitions are lowered. And it's, here's some food. Here's some Bluebell ice cream. I once ate an entire carton of Bluebell ice cream. I thought that was a good idea.
That's
Bluebell plus.
kind of impressive.
Yeah.
Really. I mean,
yeah. Bluebell plus Michelob Ultra obviously is a great combo, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a hell of a milkshake there.
Yeah. No, I don't recommend that.
Yeah.
I don't remember how it came out, but it probably wasn't pretty.
Yeah,
so.
I was about to say that
It wasn't pretty.
the digestive side of
No.
that had been a nightmare. I know what happens if I take one spoonful of ice cream, and it's.
Are you lactose intolerant?
I think everybody is to that point. I think everybody is.
Really? Oh,
Like
no.
we're the only thing that drink milk
I know.
after infancy, and we drink it from another animal.
It is kind of weird.
It's gonna wreck you. Like
Yeah.
we're the only thing on the
know.
planet. that
I
does
You know
it.
what I've always thought of is the first person that ever decided, like, I'm going to go get milk out of that cow's
Yeah,
titty.
yeah.
You know, the people in the village looked at him like, what a fucking weirdo. Get him away from our kids.
And then somebody else took a drink of it. They're like, "Hey, hey, this is great."
But yeah, they for
Oh, yeah.
sure thought he had a sickness.
Yeah, they were like,
yeah.
ugh. Or either that, or I just picture him like sucking right off of the udder, just like, yeah,
Before
just
he figured out, it's like, oh, I could put this in a bucket.
yeah.
Ah.
Oh yeah, I could. People want to buy this. Milk was the first drug.
Possibly.
Could have been the first drug ever.
Possibly.
Yeah. How about that? We're learning things today on Two Addicts and a Moron.
You could hashtag that.
Yeah.
Hashtag milk, hashtag first drug.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do an anti-milk campaign.
Even
How
though-
they shoved milk down our throats for all
I don't
those
know.
years.
I
and-
grew up in rural Texas next to a family-owned dairy, so
Yeah.
I love my dairy. Love
Yeah.
my
Oh, yeah.
love my dairy farmers. But yeah, I do Fayette Greek yogurt though.
yeah.
I like that. I like to mix that with the Magic Spoon cereal.
Yeah,
and I don't
that's
think
good.
I don't think about all the additives that are in the cereal.
Yeah.
I just eat it because I like it.
Yeah. It's good for you.
And like it's 30 grams of protein right here.
Yeah. There
Yeah.
you go. So how long were you in active addiction?
I had really good years and really not so good years. When I was in college, I met Scott at Baylor. And so I was a girl from rural Texas, thought I had no reason to be a Baylor. Had 65 kids in my graduating class. I don't know how I even got in. I wasn't top 10. I had a decent ACT score, but I had all these extracurriculars. And I think that they saw that I was the only person from the county that applied to go to school there. And they wanted to say that they had someone from all the counties.
Yeah. Just filling a quota or
I
something.
think I filled like the rural Texas quota.
Yeah.
I really do. So I showed up there, and there are kids there, y'all, that they went to real high schools where their algebra teacher wasn't talking about like Vietnam stories. They actually learned stuff.
Yeah.
So I got there and I realized, or at least I felt like I didn't belong. Like looking back, I did belong, but I didn't realize that at the time.
Yeah.
And so I got to the point where I ended up through a series of events not staying at Baylor and had a small mental breakdown, which we can talk about later.
Sure. Yeah. we wanna
But
get into that.
but when I transferred schools, in order to write term papers, do my math homework, complete projects, y'all remember Boone's Farm?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I put some Boone's Farm in my Sonic cup with the cherry limeade, and I would have to drink almost an entire bottle to do my homework because I was so anxious. Like I'm not good. I'm not smart enough to be in college. I was getting a degree in education, and I was like, I'm never going to be smart enough to do this. Children aren't going to listen to me, but I got to get this paper done. I can't disappoint my parents. So I would do that in order to literally get through school.
Okay.
So
That's crazy.
Yeah. And then when we got married, we had 2 incomes and we lived in Dallas at the time. And the cool place to go in Dallas is uptown. So we would just go, and we were good weekend warrior drinkers. So we wouldn't drink during the week because we got to save all that money.
Yeah.
And then we'd go out to the bars. And I think on Saturday night, I'm pretty sure I could put away 4 or 5 beers, and not just like normal beers, the stouts, the triple quads or Belgian quads, whatever they're called. I could put those away
Yeah.
and just be completely fine for church the next morning because we were going to church too.
Yeah.
But I think when I entered, where I kind of crossed that line from being just I call it a silly girl, just being a silly girl,
Yeah.
into being, you gotta go talk to somebody. Like, like you should go seek some person.
Might have a problem.
You might have a problem. When I was pregnant with my oldest, Brody, I got laid off while I was pregnant. We moved while I was pregnant. I had preeclampsia. I had a very terrible delivery, like almost died. Lots of blood. Had to, but they still kicked me out of the hospital after 3 days. But when Scott went back to work, I was at home with this little baby. He cried all the time. I was still, I was breastfeeding and he was crying all the time because he wasn't getting enough from me. And I talked to the pediatrician and she was like, well, if you have like a dark beer, that could help with milk production. I tell all the moms that. I'm like, okay. And she said, drink it while you're breastfeeding. Like, I don't really know how that's supposed to work, but I took that to heart and I had 2. And then that led to, well, I should probably just drink while he's asleep. So I drink while he was asleep and I'd pump. Well, I think I really want to make a cocktail. Maybe I'll make a gin and tonic before Scott gets home while I'm cooking dinner, being the good housewife, right? Mm-hmm. I'm going to make a gin and tonic and then I'll make him a drink too. And I'll have a drink with him. And before you know it, I've had 7 beverages in one day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's when but I was, again, I'm oldest daughter. My parents are very young. Were very young when they had me. So I always wanted to appear perfect. Mm-hmm. So I was the perfect wife, the perfect mom. I was training for a half marathon too.
All right.
So I was, in getting my postpartum or my normal body back, right? Because we tell women they have to do that. So I didn't really realize at the time that I met the clinical definition of alcohol use disorder, met the clinical definition, and I would just drink all the time. And even when I went back to work after a year, I went back to work when Brody was about a year old. I would still, as soon as I got home from work, let's have 2 beers. Okay, I'm going to have another one I'm going to have a glass of Chardonnay while I'm cooking. Yeah. Let's have a nightcap. So I'm still having significant amounts of alcohol. We just didn't think about it because I was talking to somebody the other day, and when you think about, individuals that have problems with alcohol, you think about the old guy with the gin, and it's wrapped around, and he's just kind of sitting there on his trailer porch. And you know what I mean, though.
Yeah, no.
I know exactly. What you mean.
you just think of that guy. And I'm a successful insurance person.
Yeah.
I don't meet that. And
Well, I think
it's
that's why it's important that you're here.
Yeah.
Because I feel like your story is so much more relatable to a lot more people. I mean, he lived under a bridge. That's not the most all the way relatable thing. You know what I mean? Like it's shocking and it's something to be respected. But I mean, alcoholism and even sometimes drug use looks more like you than it does like the guy under the bridge, right?
Well,
like,
and it's so ingrained in culture.
Yeah.
It's all the women in women's events, except for the ones sponsored by the churches, are always like sip and see or wine and 5K. It's
painting with a twist.
Yes, painting with a twist. Oh my! I have a painting with a twist story. Oh my goodness! So, Casey, I'm sorry, I'm telling this story. Don't hate me.
Yeah, get in there.
So I think we were both like new moms at the time. No, I'd had Brody and she hadn't had Hannah yet, and we went on we were in Dallas, uptown Dallas. We were in Highland Park, which is like where the fancy people live.
Yeah.
And they had a painting with a twist studio there. And of course, you bring your own bottle, right? Mm-hmm. So we're pouring. My painting doesn't look anything because we had pre-gamed before we went. We'd gone. There was a cute little restaurant beforehand, so we'd had like 2, 3.
Yeah.
But her picture came out fabulous. And mine, it's definitely more interpretive.
Yeah, looked like Michael J. Fox painted it. Yeah.
Oh,
come on, man.
Is he here?
Sorry.
No. Fucking
yeah. He's not listening to us.
No.
Fine.
No.
Yeah. Look, It's not
okay.
unusual for us to
I
start
know.
going into Parkinson's jokes and shit. I'm
know.
sorry
It's
about
okay. It's okay.
So yours look terrible.
Oh yeah, it looked awful. It looked like it was awful. And then of course my friend Casey's is perfect. I'm like, how did you do that? And she was like, oh, I think that was the 3 gin and tonics you had before
Yeah.
and this bottle of wine.
Yeah.
And she was kind of looking at me like, yeah, that's why yours looks like shit. And yeah, so that's my painting with a twist. Maybe don't twist so hard if you're gonna go there. But yeah, but like my painting is so bad, guys. Scott and I went to Painting with a Twist here in Austin for our baby moon. Scott's painting is all like perfect, and mine looks like a toddler did it.
And you weren't twisting that time?
No, I was not twisting.
So it turns out you just suck at
pregnant.
painting.
Yeah, I'm
So
just
it's
really
perfect.
bad.
You
I'm
could have
really
just
bad at
boozed it
painting.
up. It wouldn't have been a problem.
So bad at painting.
I'm kidding.
Yeah. Oh no. I should have stopped before. Like maybe we should have gone to pottery. I don't know. That's more textile. Maybe I could have done that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I went to one before, and they have the person that you follow that does it.
Well, I didn't follow directions.
Yeah, well, it doesn't matter because the person that you follow is fucking amazing at it.
Right. Yeah.
And like yours is like looks like shit, and then you're trying to make it look like that, and you're trying like even if it looks halfway decent, you make it look even worse because you're trying to change shit up,
Right.
You're trying to add to it and subtract from it, and then it's just I just was like fuck it.
Oh yeah.
This is what my painting looks like.
It's like it's okay that it looks like a 7-year-old boy painted this. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. No big deal.
Yeah.
Nobody's buying it at the end of it.
No.
So, was there a moment or a thing that happened where you really knew it was like a problem and I have to address this?
I knew in 2018, 2019, I probably had a problem, but I didn't want to look in the mirror and accept the problem.
Sure.
And I really thought I might have had a problem in November 2020. Nobody was doing a whole lot, but I had to fly from Houston to Dallas to go to Thanksgiving by myself. And I really thought that if I had 4 margaritas at Papa Do's in Hobby Airport, that I would kill the COVID germs. And I managed to also pass out on the plane. And a nice stewardess from Southwest just kind of poked me, and my wonderful, beautiful husband still picked me up at the airport. But a couple of months after that, early January, Scott and I went on a 10-year anniversary trip. Denver had just opened back up. We got a really cheap deal on like a penthouse or a suite. I don't remember, but it was a really nice room at the Hyatt downtown. We got in this great deal, and the flights were still real cheap because people were afraid to fly.
Yeah.
So we'd got this $1,000 a night room for like $200. I was like, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Look at us. COVID, who that? But we had a hell of a time in Denver. And this one particular night, or this day really, we literally spent the day just drinking. We started at one place, we ended at another place, and then we went back and had pizza. And I think I had 3 cocktails at dinner. And then we got back to the hotel room, and I told Scott, hey, I don't feel really well. And he was like, oh, I don't feel well either. I'm going to go lay down. I was like, okay, cool. And I threw up the most I ever had in my life. Ended up somehow being on the bathroom floor, hit the floor really hard. And I woke up maybe around 4 o'clock in the morning, and it's cold in Denver because they have real weather there.
Yeah.
Unlike us, except for
yeah.
like last week. But my hair, I couldn't get up. I was like, what? Why can't I get up? And it was frozen to the tiles by my own vomit.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And I was like, how am I supposed to get up? And I've had the same haircut for probably most of my life,
Yeah.
Bob. And I'm like, how am I going to get up? And I had to take my other hand and like chivvy it so I wouldn't yeah.
Oh,
So,
dude.
yeah. So it was like wet and cold and like dried and, not what you, not like, I was like, what is wrong with, like, I don't know. This is terrible. And I sat up slowly because, if you sit up too fast, it's going to come back for you.
Yeah.
But I was lucid enough to know not to do that. And I looked at where I fell versus where I could have fallen, and I was about this far, maybe make an L, go like this, make
Yeah.
a U, from hitting my head on the toilet and landing in the water.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm 33 years old, and I literally almost died. I almost killed myself
Yeah.
on accident. And so I got up and I looked at myself in the mirror and I heard this little voice. I was like, are you done yet?
Yeah.
Are you done? And I remember it, and I looked in the mirror. I was like, yes, I'm done. And if you'll help me kick alcohol, I'll help other people. And I knew it was the Holy Spirit, and I hadn't been listening to Jesus. I hadn't been listening because I had a lot of life happen between 22 and at that time, I don't know, 33. Had a lot of life happen. Was very angry at God. Very angry. We were still actively going to church. I was a church volunteer. I was greeting people coming in the door. Was I hungover? Yes, but nobody knew because I was really good at taking Tums and getting back to work.
Right.
But I literally looked in the mirror and was like, if you'll help me, I'm not going to help. I will help everybody else. And that was January 8th, 2021. Haven't had a drink since. And it has not been a bed of roses, as life is not.
Yeah.
But, I told God I'd help people, and that's why I'm here, to help other women like me. There's not a lot of role models out there, especially for women. There's a lot more men, right? But there's not a lot of females out there that are willing to talk about, should you really be drinking Chardonnay in the middle of the day? Are these sip and see events really a good idea? Should you really be going out and having 3 margaritas? Like, there's not a lot of women that are willing to talk about that. We all know, like, meth might be bad for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
And,
we
and
all
it
know
is.
that.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is. It's not
you
very
know.
good for you.
You
That's
know.
confirmed.
But there's studies about red wine being good for you, right?
Yeah.
It's totally fine. It's not funded by the industry that made it. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we just live in a society where life just pairs well pairs well with a drink.
Right.
It's at every function we do.
Yeah.
Like it's a rite of passage.
Yeah. It's, if you go to an event, you get 2 drink cards, right?
Right.
And then afterwards, there's an open bar. Everybody gets 2 more drinks after that, right? Until they close the bar down. It's everywhere, and it's the only really socially acceptable drug, because that's what
Yeah.
alcohol is. It's the most abused substance in the world, and people don't like to think of alcohol as a substance, but it's literally the most abused substance in the world. Costs trillions. If you take the entire globe, costs trillions of dollars to treat people. Think about all just think about it. Think about Europe, Russia,
Yeah.
Yeah.
just think about it.
Well, you also see like these sports teams that are sponsored by alcohol, or these
Boxers.
stadiums that boxers.
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, and people that you grow up in, people that younger people look up to, that are sponsored by them, and it's just so much more accepted.
Oh yeah.
And really, I would be willing to say that alcohol probably kills more people than anything, as far as drugs, with drunk driving and everything.
I agree with you.
But it's the most socially accepted. Like
It's
what you were
legal.
saying earlier, when you would compare yourself to the guy on the side of the road. I used to do that in my drug addiction. When people would be like, "Don't you think you have a problem?" I'd be like, "No, because I'm not homeless."
Right.
Like, no, I've got a job. I make good money.
I'm still going to work the next morning. It's fine.
That's how I justified it, And when I first got in the program, I used to always think like, alcohol wasn't. This is my ego. Alcohol can't be as bad as it is meth, right? To get off of it. But then as I got deeper in the program and realized like I can't buy meth at the store. Right? Every time I walk in a store, I don't have to walk past my drug and stare at it while I'm paying at the register. So it gave me a different appreciation for people that are alcoholics that are able to stop, because you literally, get it pushed in your face every single day.
Yeah. Well, what's crazy is you go to the grocery store, you brought up the grocery store, you pull a bottle of wine, there is no ingredient list. You pull beer, there's no ingredient list. But you know where they do put ingredients on? The non-alcoholic beers. There's an ingredient list.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, there's an ingredient list.
Wow.
Yeah.
But if you go and pull, I don't know, what's Ryan Reynolds? He has his own liquor company or something, or George Clooney does.
Yeah, the Espolone, is it Espolone? No,
I just know whenever
know.
I pass like a truck and it's him on a bike, supposedly in Mexico, I'm like, I wonder if that's how that really is. Probably not. But you go to Specs, you pull that bottle. It does not have a list of ingredients on it.
So when we chatted the other day, you had mentioned this to me, and I never paid attention. So I went.
Did you go check me out?
Yeah, I was like, wow, I was just curious. I was like, huh, that's fucking weird. So I'm actually going to go check out the non-alcoholic on the way back.
No, like
but-
it'll have like something like malt this, and I guess maybe they're trying to prove that it's non-alcoholic. Maybe that's a part of the regulation, but it's pretty ridiculous. It's crazy.
yeah.
It's insane.
So how did you get sober? Like what? So after the, after the looking in the mirror and having that literal come to Jesus,
Yeah.
what, how did you do it after that?
How did I do it? Well, we had 2 more days left in Denver. And I was incredibly hungover still. And I told Scott, I was like, I talked to God and God's going to help me. And he was like, okay, do you want me to go get you like
Sweet.
a Michelob? Yeah.
How was Scott during this whole time?
He drank, but he was not as good at it as I was.
Yeah. I guess.
Yeah.
I was better.
Yeah.
Because I'm Emily and I've got
Did
to
he
be
know
better than
that you
everybody.
probably had a problem?
I think he did.
What do you think, Scott?
Yeah,
Did you-
Scott.
So.
She hit it really well.
Did she?
Yeah,
Yeah.
she did. But
I'm a master at that. I had a lot of things. Not
So she hit it really well, is what he said.
Yeah, so I was really good at hiding it, but he drank, but he wasn't. I think whenever we went out, he was watching me to make sure that somebody didn't like roofie my drink, or
Yeah.
he knew that Emily has no self-awareness, so I've got to kind of watch myself. So he knew. He just didn't want. I don't think he knew how to say something, and we don't talk about what is that magic drink, right? Unless you Google like, well, how many drinks a week is it considered to be an alcoholic?
Yeah.
Which is kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
When you think about it, like Googling that, because it's like, why are you drinking? Like,
Right.
what are you doing it for? And whether that's one drink or whether that's 35 of them, doesn't fucking matter. Like, it's,
I had this old timer tell me when I first got introduced to AA, like in 2010, he's like, you can only drink once a year and be an alcoholic. I'm like, what? There's no way. He's like, it's not about how much you drink. It's about what happens when you drink.
or why you're doing it.
You're
what,
absolutely right.
Yeah. What are you trying to accomplish by having the drink? Right.
Right.
And so, yeah, you can go Google like, oh, it takes 3 drinks. So
But if
per
you're
week,
only drinking once a year and it's because somebody died and you can't get through
Right.
the day, how many? You know that date's on the calendar.
Right.
You know you're planning your week around that day, maybe your month. You've taken off 2 days before work, 3 days after, so that way you get it out of your system. You've gone to the liquor store. You've bought let's be honest, you've bought your drug of choice.
yeah.
And you're going to sit there and watch Netflix because I assume everyone else watches Netflix when they're drinking.
Yeah.
And you're just getting through the day.
Yeah.
Sure.
And that's not normal either.
Right.
That's not normal.
Right. So the other thing that I would say about Googling, right, is as an addict, you're going to manipulate that.
Oh, yeah.
Right. You're going to be like, oh, it says 3 a week or whatever. I only had 2
Right,
and a
or-
half or whatever.
You want to know what
You
I
know?
used to do? Because I knew it was something like 4 ounces of wine was considered a serving.
Yeah.
Well, I got my digital scale out I'm only going to have like 2.5 right now.
Yeah.
And I'm going to come back in an hour. I'll have 2.5 more because then that really only counts as 1.2 maybe.
Yeah.
And like that's what I would do when I felt like it. Because otherwise and people don't measure out, especially wine and women, they don't measure out what an actual serving is. It's,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's your serving.
Yeah, you're just dumping it in there.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I drank an entire bottle and it only took 4 glasses. Awesome.
Yeah.
You know?
So get back to how
Okay.
you got sober.
Yeah.
Like what did you have to work any kind of program? Did you go to any kind of therapies?
So I tried to, interesting thing is I tried to find a facility. I tried to find an AA meeting. I tried to find something geared towards women. Because I didn't want to go to like an AA meeting with a bunch of old dudes.
Yeah.
Like, my name's Emily. I think I have a problem with alcohol.
My name's Bob.
Yeah. Yeah, like I
I'm a
didn't
sex addict.
exactly. And I
Yeah.
didn't want to like do that. And then they also, I got on AA's website and they had these online meetings. It's like, I don't really want to get on my computer and that's kind of weird. So on our flight, before we got on the plane, I had Googled books. And because I love to read, love audiobooks, love to read actually real books too. But I had Googled like recovery books or alcohol addiction books, and Alan Carr's The Easy Way to Stop Drinking popped up, which millions people have read. So we're on the plane ride home, and it's like a 2-ish hour flight from Denver to Houston, and I'm just listening to it. I'm like, okay. And literally the book talks you out of drinking. I'm like, okay, this makes sense to me. This makes sense. So I finished the book. And at that point, I think by the time I finished it, I was maybe 2 weeks no drinking. And then I got to think about it. Well, there's got to be other books, like, because this book is really, this book's written by a man. And he doesn't know me. He doesn't know what it's like to be a working mom with children, and at the time we were all working from home. Like, he doesn't know. He's a man. He doesn't know. And so I was talking to a friend, and they said, well, there's this other book. It's called Quit Like a Woman. It's like, oh, okay, I'm going to read that. And it was how this lady had quit drinking and like all the ways that big alcohol has marketed to women in the past 10 years, because they've already got all the men. So it's like, you know why they made White Claws? Because they're low in calorie,
Yes,
and they're
yeah.
going to get you. That's why they made, all these
I didn't think about that.
low calorie
I
drinks.
didn't think about that.
Yeah.
And that's why they've made the
Are
wine
these
labels
fruitier
pretty.
drinks now, right?
Yeah.
Instead of beer, it's fruity.
Yeah, it's
Strawberry.
Yeah, have a strawberry White Claw or a Smirnoff, or we've had all this 96 calorie beer, but you can still get a buzz. So that's why they've started making all that, is because they've already got all the men. And once I read that, and there were a couple of other things about marketing and cigarettes, like how they got all the women addicted to cigarettes, Virginia Slims, or is that what they were called?
Yeah.
Virginia Slims.
Like
Yeah.
they invented that.
You almost said virgin.
I was like, is it Virgin or Virginia? Like, Elizabeth was the Virgin Queen, and they named the state Virginia.
Yeah.
But like, I was like, well, see, I'm full of random facts like that. Won't remember your name, but I will remember random facts, or like what you wore, what your wife's name is, and how many kids you have.
All right.
Yeah, that's your fun fact about me.
Good for you.
I know, makes no sense.
Yeah.
But I read that book, and it talked about how they had marketed, big alcohol was doing it, and how they were we all know smoking tobacco, bad, right?
Yeah.
They beat that into us at school. Don't do that. Don't do drugs. And so I realized that they had just taken a book, like a page out of their book, and they were now using it to trap me and my friends. And I said, no, you're not going to, we're not doing this. I'm smarter than you. I'm in charge of myself. And I tried to find a actual treatment facility in my neighborhood or in Katy. They don't really have those in suburbia, because if you think about it, would you want a facility by your house? Nope.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, I read these 2 books, but what am I going to do? What am I going to do now? Okay, I'm going to read the Bible. So I literally for several months read the Bible just over and over and over again. And Scott and I somehow got pregnant around, I was reading the Bible every day. I was doing all this stuff, and we weren't actively trying for a kid, but we weren't either.
Yeah.
No barriers.
Yeah.
But I got pregnant.
Yeah. I was going to say, you don't know how you got pregnant. I kind of know.
Yeah,
I
you
think
know,
we're all grown up. I
When
get it.
when a mommy and daddy
Scott,
love each other
good
very
job,
much.
dude. Yeah. Yeah, brother.
Got
Got her.
When a mommy and daddy love each other very much.
Yeah. I know how it happened.
Yeah.
You could.
But like,
My daughter still thinks you get pregnant by kissing. That's what
keep
I've
it
told
that
her.
way for a while. Keep it that way till like high school graduation.
Yeah.
And then then
her.
have the talk.
Yeah, then she'll just be a dork.
Yeah.
Hey, that's fine.
I don't care.
Dorks are good. Be a dork.
I do not care.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we got pregnant. And so I'd already started this like non-drinking journey. It was like, well, you can't drink when you're pregnant. Otherwise you are like not.
Terrible person.
Yeah. You
right?
can't drink and be pregnant. That's bad.
Yeah.
So at that point I was, had the baby. He had not issues right away, but he had this thing called torticollis. What is that thing Brady had? Whatever he just said.
Yeah.
And so his poor little neck and his shoulder, his muscles were so tight. He ran out of space in my body. So when
Okay.
he came out, he was a little stiff. So
Had a crick in his neck.
he had a crick.
Yeah.
That required a year of physical therapy to get out.
No
Did he have to wear the helmet to push it back over?
We had 2 helmets.
Did you?
Yeah, we had those little babies walk around with helmets. We had 2 of them.
I have a
And-
friend that had that.
Yeah, it was not fun.
And those helmets are expensive as
yeah,
fuck.
they are very expensive.
like $5,000 a
but
helmet. or
what's
some shit.
crazy is insurance. We only had to pay like $800 for the first one, but the second one was free. It's like, okay, this makes no sense, but whatever. United Healthcare.
Yeah. Oh, we can start diving into that
Whatever.
one. Oh, boy.
Whatever.
Yeah.
But
I think that's getting worked out right now.
yeah, I
Kind
think
of.
so. Yeah. But yeah, so I knew in order to be aware of what was going on with him, like I can't drink anymore. I can't do this. I've got a kid who he's not like when Brody came out, and Brody was like super pretty and like perfectly shaped head and drank regular baby, could drink breast milk. And he was like, this kid, he needs some help.
Yeah.
And early on, I did question like, well, maybe I could go back to drinking. Maybe I could do this. And it kind of all came to a head. Y'all remember the baby formula shortage?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had to stop breastfeeding because I was having some very dark postpartum thoughts, and I had to go talk to a doctor, and she was like, it might be a good idea if you stopped sharing your body with the baby for a little bit. I was like, okay, that's fine. So that happened the same week as the baby formula stopped showing up on the shelves.
Oh wow.
So I was like, I think I'm just going to drink, just have a glass. I can go and buy those individual serving ones at HEB, just get like 1 beer. So that way it's not a lot of beer. It's just 1. It's fine. I can drink just 1. And I told Scott, I was like, I think I'm going to do that. And he said, no, you're not. No, you're not. You need to go back in there and read the Bible. Go and read some Psalms because, David's crying out to God too. Go and cry out to God. It's like, okay, I'll do that. And that's really how I've been able to do this. I think it's supernatural.
Wow.
It's a supernatural thing because I tried to find a facility, couldn't find one. Tried to find a meeting, couldn't find one. These books came into my life, which kind of woke me up. And then you have God's word. It's literally a supernatural blessing from God that I've been able to keep this up.
Well, it sounds like you got a hell of a support system too.
I do.
Like having somebody kind of call you out.
Yeah.
And when telling you what you needed to hear, not necessarily what you wanted to hear, it would have been very easy for him to be like, yeah, 1 beer. I mean,
Right.
No
And I
big
have-
deal. Like,
and it's not just all on Scott. Like I have
For sure.
I have a group of friends that I made at the gym. I also thought it would be a good idea to start going to boot camp while I was pregnant.
yeah.
So, why not? Just deliver the baby while doing squats. That's totally fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, and these girls, they know that I don't drink. They're a great support system too. So my friend Diana checks in on me like, hey, how are you doing? My friend Andrea, hey girl, you look a little stressed. What's going on? Don't give in to whatever the devil's telling you to do.
Yeah.
So I've got my good friend Jenny, she'll text me and say, hey, you weren't at camp yesterday. Are you okay? Are you feeling sad? Are you feeling blue? Don't do anything stupid.
Yeah.
It's like, okay. So I've got I've got my gym girls. And I also, once I started telling people that, yeah, I have a problem with alcohol. I'm not drinking anymore. I'm really serious about this. The people from the church were incredibly supportive, which those are the people I was the most scared to talk to
Yeah.
because, I go to Second Baptist in Houston, Texas. It's one of the 50th largest churches in the nation.
Yeah.
They're a big deal. And I was afraid if I said anything that maybe they throw me out. I don't know.
Judgment's tough,
You know,
man.
yeah,
Or
and
fear of it.
Right. And if you're from rural Texas, I'm from rural Texas. What do we do to people that are different from us in rural Texas? We shun them.
Shun them.
And I was afraid that nobody would be my friend. No one would let me around their kids maybe because they thought they wouldn't invite,
She's not babysitting this
Yeah,
week.
like we're not
No
gonna
fucking way.
like we're not gonna let Brody come into our house. That's
Yeah.
my 9-year-old. We're not gonna let Brody come over. But once I started telling people, yeah, I'm not drinking anymore. I'm really reading the Bible a lot. They're like, okay, great. Let me tell you some passages because I struggle with that too.
Yeah.
Or I go to AA and this is some stuff that they've told us. And I'm like, okay. So it's been a 4-year journey that, guys, it's supernatural. God has put people in my life. He's put resources in my life that I couldn't even ask for. Like 4 years ago, I wouldn't have even known, I grew up in church my entire life, but I'd never really read the Bible because at Vacation Bible School, you don't, they just tell you, watch this story,
Right.
Say the prayer and you're golden, but they don't talk about what to do after that.
Yeah.
And it just took till I was 33 years old to figure out what to do after that.
I just, I think you got to give yourself a little more credit than this supernatural thing. And I'll only say it because of this. I'm not disagreeing that it was supernatural, but maybe it always was, and you just stopped to listen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you
No,
know
I
what I
agree
mean?
with that.
Like, so I think you taking that in and listening to what was being told to you.
Because I knew for a long time what I was doing was wrong, and I just didn't want to listen.
100%.
And we all have to get to that place where this, you can either go this way
Left or right.
or this way, and which way do you want to go?
Yeah. My buddy Blake, he always says it's like one of my favorite things I've ever heard is sometimes it's not rejection, it's God's redirection. Sometimes God wants you here and you keep going there and he's just going to let you go. Like, go ahead, go explore it. And when you get to that point to where you're looking at yourself in the mirror and he's like, are you done yet?
Yeah.
Are you ready to come my way?
Yeah.
And I believe that's like one of my favorite quotes. And that's how whenever I'm in a bad place, I just say, well, this is just God redirecting me. It's just, he's just trying to bring me over here. And yeah, that's, was that the first time that you'd ever heard God?
Oh yeah,
For sure.
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And it didn't, when you talk to yourself, it sounds like you in your head.
Yeah.
You're like, it did not sound like me.
Yeah.
It wasn't quite like a man's voice, but it wasn't a woman's voice either. It was very clear. People say clear as a bell, but it was very clear that it was not me. It was a supernatural experience. Like, it was very clear. And it's something I'll never forget. And I always, when people are like, well, what was your, you know, people love to use the term rock bottom. Like, oh, I've had a lot of rock bottoms.
Yeah.
But let me tell you about this one time that God talked to me, and people get kind of like, she's hearing voices. I'm like, no, it was God. I know it was God.
Yeah.
I know it.
Yeah, call it whatever you want, but
Yeah.
it got you. I mean,
Worked.
you opened up and started listening, right? So that's really all that's important, and it seemed to get you on a path that was good. And I'm sure it sounded like there was some rocky moments
Oh, yeah.
in between there. And
Oh, yeah.
so tell me a little bit. I know you said that this is something that you're trying to do to help people. Is there anything that you're doing outside of coming on Two Addicts and a Moron? Is there anything that you're doing to spearhead?
Well, what's funny is how I got here and got to be doing this. And I was thinking about this the other day. How I got here is a series of unanswered prayers, but it's got me to where I need to be.
Okay.
When I was a kid in rural Texas, when you don't have a lot of money, especially if you're a young girl, your role models are your local town beauty queens and Miss Texas. And when I was a little kid, that's all I wanted to be when I grew up. I thought if I won Miss Texas, my parents would be uber proud of me, and I would like just make everyone so happy. No one would be mad at each other. World peace would happen, and it'd be the end of a Disney movie.
Yeah.
And we would just all like kumbaya, right? But that sort of stuff takes money and resources I did not have. You know, farmers' daughters don't get to do that stuff.
Yeah.
So that was something I'd put in the back of my head, like maybe one day. And unfortunately, last year we lost my father-in-law to bladder cancer. He battled for 7 years, and he finally, his body is now fully healed in heaven. He's not playing pickleball; he's playing real tennis
There you go.
because his rotator cuff is fixed.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he used to make fun of people who played pickleball, and then he started playing it. So.
That's me. I play pickleball.
Yeah.
I love it.
He was like, yeah.
And it's because my shoulders are both fucked.
Yeah. Yeah. He was like, yeah, I play real tennis. And then he started playing pickleball. He's like, oh, you don't have to run as far.
Yeah, this is cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, if you play doubles, there's not much running at all.
Right. Yeah. It's just, yeah. I've kind of don't understand pickleball, but Scott plays, and there's a lot of industry things that are around pickleball. So I just go, okay, awesome. We didn't have tennis courts in Mount Vernon, Texas.
Yeah.
But, we did, but they weren't usable. But anyway, so I'm real good at getting sidetracked.
Yeah, that's okay.
It's a gift.
Yeah, it's all. But welcome to Two Addicts and a Moron. We do it all the time.
So when Scott's dad passed away, we were talking, and Scott asked me, well, what is something crazy you've always wanted to do? And I'm like, I don't know. And he said, I want to go run with the bulls in Pamplona in Spain. Yeah. I want to go run with the bulls. I'm like, okay, cool. So he starts Googling when it is and looking at plane prices and looking at all this stuff. I'm like, whatever. And a couple of weeks later, he's like, hey, we're going to Spain. You need to go and get your passport.
My guy.
Yeah, I'm like, no, we're not. We're not really doing that. And he was like, no, what is the crazy thing you want to do? And I sat there and I pondered, and I said, well, I've always wanted to do married lady beauty pageants because I know they exist. I don't know a lot about them, but I think it'd be fun. And, it could be, I could wear shiny stuff. I could get my hair done. It sounds like fun. It's like, okay, we'll go find a pageant. Let's sign you up, and we'll go buy a dress. It's no big deal. So I start Googling, and there's all these systems, and I find one, and I email the director. Yes, our pageant's coming up in 8 weeks. Would you like to compete? Here's where you send the check. I'm like, okay, cool. Oh, and for this one, you have to have a platform, which is a fancy way of saying like a volunteer sort of thing, something you're passionate about. Like, okay, cool. Well, I'm passionate about not drinking. I've talked to everybody about how terrible alcohol is. That's going to be my platform. And I follow some people online, pageant coaches, and I just randomly messaged one and said, hey, I'm going to do a pageant. Can I be your client? And so we got to talking, and I got hooked up with a pageant coach. And she like helped me see that this is a very needed, girls need to know not to drink, and women especially. And so I do this pageant. I don't win. I don't even place. And but one of the ladies who was the judge, the way these pageants work, or the way this one worked, is you had 7 judges. You had to make like an info sheet about yourself on Canva. So mine's real basic because I didn't know what Canva was until they're like, you need to go on Canva and make this thing. I'm like, okay. So she's looking at my stuff and she's like, just surviving's not really enough if you want to keep doing this pageant. I know you're new. You just told me you're new. You need to do some work. Like you need to get out and talk to the public. You need to, you need to volunteer maybe with a local organization or a national one. Like, well, surviving's just not enough. She's like, no, if you're going to compete in this realm, you need to put yourself out there a little bit more. Okay, cool. So, we're driving home and I'm just like, I don't know if this is for me. But where I come to the unanswered prayer part is, when I was a kid, I wanted to do this, didn't have the money or resources. And I signed up for this pageant because my father-in-law died and I wanted him to be healed here.
Yeah.
And so the pageant was in 2024, the first one. At the end of 2023, Scott had taken a new job. And the way I thought our life was going to go didn't go that way. In my mind, I was going to quit my job. I was going to be the president of the PTA. I would have become very inward and not really fulfilling what God, my promise. Like, if you help me, I'll help other people.
Yeah, for sure.
So I got to really think about it. It was like, okay, I need to start volunteering because this is all these unanswered prayers have gotten me here. And my purpose is to help other women like me. That is my purpose. And I actually just had that realization like 3 weeks ago. But anyway, like that's what I'm here for. So I started volunteering with Shatterproof, which is a national nonprofit where they're working to end addiction stigma. I was on their national walk group, help plan walks across the country. Super cool. I had a friend who, that's how it ended up here. She was like, she's a big pageant person. She's had been on something like 80, 90 podcasts. And she had this group of us. She was talking about how she got on these shows. There are these Facebook groups. Now there's podcast Facebook groups where people are always looking to be guests. I'm like, no, there's not. That's not real.
Yeah.
That's not real. And
We actually we signed up for that not too long ago.
Yeah.
I signed us up on that
yeah.
group.
I was like, that's not real. That's so stupid. And she was like, no, Emily, if you want to be competitive in this space and you want to like really get out there, you've got to go put yourself out there more than just walking on stage in a $1,400 dress. You got to put yourself out there. It's like, okay. So that's how we got here. And that's what God has created me to do. And it's really hard to admit, but I'm here to help other people like me. And I thought I was supposed to make sourdough bread and be Martha Stewart. I thought that was what God made me to be, but apparently he made me to talk to people about the dangers of alcohol and to be a light for people that are women wanting to stop drinking. Yeah.
I can't help but take this away from that little bit of a story. And it's a little selfish of me. Guys, we're really big in the pageant community.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We should start going to
there's a
pageants.
series
Oh, no.
of pageant ladies out there that are like checking us out.
Oh, what's crazy is that it's funny you say that. At the first pageant I did, 4 of us had either alcohol use disorder or substance use disorder histories. And that was our platforms. Like mine was about alcohol. There was a lady who had a history of sexual abuse and heroin use.
Yeah.
So oh, that's heroin, but like there were 4 of us that had addiction past. Yeah. And, I think for a lot of women, especially millennial women, we grew up, You got to have it all. You can have it all. You can have the big house, the big car, the big career, 4 children, and look amazing, and you can do it. That's not 100% true. You can maybe one day have it all, but you're not going to have it all at the same time.
Right.
Right.
And a lot of women deal with that with the glass of Chardonnay because Olivia Pope did. She
Yeah.
drank freaking moonshine. Like, and that's our role model, Olivia Pope. You know, she has it all. She's sitting over here at night drinking moonshine and has a giant. Y'all know what I'm talking about? The giant wine glass that literally like fits the
Yeah,
entire
oh,
bottle.
yeah.
Like that is who. Like growing up, I wanted to be Olivia Pope. Like she's got cool clothes. The president's in love with her. She's got this cool business. And so what if she's drinking, you know, that's how she unwinds. She drinks this giant bottle of wine. I want to do that. I want to be like her. Yeah. And so many millennial women, I think that's what they're doing to cope.
Yeah.
Because they don't know anything. For myself, what I think is when we're all little kids, we're at parties and we don't need anything to make friends. But as we grow up, we get more self-conscious, we get more inward, and we think we need wine to have a good time. We need beer, we need vodka. But meth, yeah, weed, whatever. But you don't really need it. And so my thing is like you can be your true authentic self, and that is perfect.
Perfect.
Be yourself. Be perfect. Well, not be perfect, but being your true authentic self is being perfect in
Be comfortable in your own skin.
yes.
That's what I had a sponsor that used to always say that you got to ask yourself why you're putting something in your body to make yourself feel better. Mm-hmm. Because when we were kids, we didn't do that.
Yeah.
We could go wherever we wanted to go and have fun and talk to whoever. But as we get older, we get more like you said,
Right.
self-conscious, more anxiety, more I don't fit in, I don't belong here. And that's what people think is I need to put something in my body to take the edge off. I'm just to take the edge off.
Well, and see, it's funny you say that. I did a lot of reflection and a lot of why am I doing this? And when I stopped breastfeeding, I was having all these dark thoughts. And I'd had dark thoughts since I was a kid. Mm-hmm. When I was in 3rd grade, I wrote a will.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah, I wrote a will.
That's dark.
My toys away.
And my mom, I wanted to know.
All my toys
I
away.
was like, my sister gets this Barbie doll. Lindsay from up
crazy.
the road gets this one. And my mom's like, why? And she found it in my closet. 9-year-old Emily writing a will. And I was like, well, Mom, I watched an episode of 2020 where someone died without a will. Yeah. I need a will. And then, as I got older, if I didn't make perfect grades, I would literally pray, God, kill me in my sleep.
Yeah.
I'm a little 12-year-old who had just got their own room for the first time. Mm-hmm. And if I made like an 88 on the spelling test, I felt so terrible about myself. My parents might have also told me that 88 is not acceptable. So I'm upstairs. We'd moved from this little house to this house that had stairs. It was a big deal. And I'm, in my little twin bed, because that's the first time I'd had my own bed. I was like, Lord, I'm such a disappointment. Can you just kill me today? I don't want to wake up tomorrow. Like little 9, 11, 12-year-olds should not be having thoughts like that.
Yeah.
So
I think they do, though. I mean, I remember similar stuff. I think life is weird. As you get older, the more baggage you pick up, right? Like it's just, you start out as a baby and then you get made fun of when you're 5. You get called fat. You get called dumb. You get called, that's another bag you pick up. And then when you turn 9, then it's something else. Then you turn 12. Now, you know what I mean? Like it just, and then.
But if it's constant though, that's when, because that for me, I don't know how it was for you, but it was a constant, like reoccurring theme.
Yeah, that wasn't quite that way for me.
It was like if I made an 88, like
that's crazy.
we used to get. Did when y'all
Mom
were
would
in
have
school?
been fucking excited.
Well, okay, so
Like I
when
would have
y'all
got brought to Peter Piper Pizza.
Yeah.
Peter Piper Pizza.
Yes.
Piper Pizza.
Shit,
Let's go.
man, shit, I would have went all the way to the top.
Yeah.
when y'all were in school, did y'all get grades every 6 weeks? Because some people do it every 9 weeks.
It was 6 weeks,
was
and then
6
it went to
9
9.
weeks.
Yeah,
Okay.
it kind of switched in the middle there.
9 weeks.
If
Yeah.
I made an 88, 87, and it wasn't an A, I was like, Lord, just kill me in my sleep, like literally all the time. And like any test was like, I'm such a disappointment. I'm such a disappointment.
Did you get in a lot of trouble for it? Like for not getting A's?
I usually got a stern talking to.
Okay.
Like, we expect more out of you. You know, you're a very smart young lady. Maybe you should study harder. Maybe you should pay attention more. But I just got diagnosed with the ADHD, so that's why I couldn't pay attention.
Yeah.
But you know, like, I see I am funny.
No, you're hilarious. So your little side stories that come up are,
Oh yeah,
are pretty funny.
They're
Yeah,
pretty good.
They're good.
They're pretty good. But like my parents, I just don't think they knew a lot about life. They had me very young.
That's what I was going to ask. Were they young?
I was the 11th month anniversary present, and I don't blame them now for a lot of the things that happened because they were just young. They wanted me to be successful, and they didn't know any other way. And as an adult now, I have more empathy for them because they were small town people, and they had big dreams for their little girl.
Yeah.
They wanted me to go to Baylor or go to UT, get good grades, and get with a different class of people that I would not meet in rural Texas. They wanted a different life for me.
Yeah.
And the best way to do that is you got to get good grades so you can go to the right school. And as a parent now, like, I understand what they did, but I have different tools.
Right.
So I'm not going to make the same mistakes, but I've forgiven them for that. And that's the most powerful gift we have too, is forgiving other people.
Absolutely.
And also forgiving ourselves.
Yep.
It's wild how having kids does that,
Oh yeah.
right? Like how it makes you look back at your parents and some of the things that you hated, you then start to understand, or you couldn't wrap your head around it. And then you have your own kids and you're like, oh yeah. Oh,
yeah. Well,
okay.
There's a great book about forgiveness too. It's by, I think her name's Schwarzenegger Pratt, the Schwarzenegger that married Chris Pratt, Arnold's daughter. I think her name's Kathleen.
Kathleen.
But she wrote a book about forgiveness, and she interviewed all these people that had horrific things happen to them and how they were able to move on and forgive. First story in there is Elizabeth Smart.
Oh, wow.
And like, she's world famous for the things that happened to her.
Right.
But she was able to forgive her attackers, and she's been able to live this beautiful life.
Right.
And a part of that for me was, you can forgive somebody, but you don't actually have to reconcile maybe.
Yeah.
Because they're going to think that, that crazy man thinks that he is right. He thought he was right, and he probably still thinks he's right, hanging out in the jail. But
I always say you can forgive, but you don't have to forget.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the
Like,
forgiveness.
I don't feel like Jesus didn't forget who traded him in, right? Like, he forgave Judas,
right,
but he didn't forget it. Otherwise, we wouldn't read it in the book,
right.
right? So I feel like you can forgive, but you don't have to forget somebody.
Right. Well, the forgiveness is for ourselves.
Yeah.
So we don't.
Right. So we don't carry that
Exactly.
with us. And I've had to really, for a long time, I was really mad at a lot of people.
Yeah.
But once I started going through this journey of, reconciling that I had alcohol use disorder, and I got a real diagnosis from a real doctor about it. And like, why was I drinking? I was holding on to all this anger and all this resentment. And I had to forgive these people, or it was going to kill me. Because the people I was mad at, they don't care. They're not in my life.
Moving right along.
Yeah. They don't know that, the things they said to me 20 years ago or did to me 20, 25 years ago is still affecting me as a grown woman. They don't know that. So just really working on that really helped a lot too. But it's figuring out why you're drinking, that played a part. I had these dark thoughts we were talking about, and the thoughts kept getting darker and darker. And so much so I told Scott, like, hey, I'm going to go buy some Jack Daniels. I'm going to run into the Walmart because they have good GL, general liability insurance. And there won't be a lot of people working at the Walmart because they close at 10. So I'm going to go at midnight. I'm going to drink all this Jack Daniels, bury me in this dress because y'all don't need me anymore. I can't breastfeed. Like, I'm not useful. So he was like, no, we're going to go talk to the doctor now. And and through, a series, I went through a couple of doctors. like I have a chemical imbalance. And what do we do? And I was using alcohol for many years
Get it back on.
to get it back. Like if I'm too happy, if you're happy, you drink. If you're sad, you drink. So it creates an equilibrium. And I didn't have that anymore. So it was a big wake up call. Like you've got some other things you have to manage. So not only do I have, alcohol use disorder is a chronic disease. Well, the mental health stuff is chronic as well because it's something that's going to be with you forever. I have to really check in with myself. Like, am I doing too much? And I was thinking on the way up here, is this too much for me being on camera, talking to 3 random dudes like that I met on the internet?
Yeah.
Like,
It sounds like it's a terrible
It
idea.
sounds like such a bad idea.
like, is this bad? Like,
Did Scott bring a gun? I mean, I don't know.
like, should I buy my hatchet? Like, I don't know. I have a story about him and a knife, but anyway, he went to a pawn shop and bought a knife, and he now uses
Dude,
it.
Scott
to
is the
open-
most interesting guy on earth.
very
He
interesting.
loves Jordans. He digs
know.
football cards. He went to Baylor, and he has a crazy story about a knife. I want
Yeah.
you to get into it right now. Let's go.
His coworker's wife's parents. So Tree.
Okay.
They own a pawn shop off Westheimer in Houston.
Mm-hmm.
And so Scott thought it would be a good idea to go there and buy with our 9-year-old
Yeah.
and buy
perfect.
like silver coins. Like,
Yeah.
like they always advertise on like the AM
Yeah.
radio stations, like diversify your portfolio with gold.
We know all about that.
Yeah, me and Mike are very familiar.
And so he took Brody to this pawn shop to buy silver bullion.
Yeah.
Did I use it right? Okay. Yeah, with like these coins. And Scott's like, guess what? I took Brody to a pawn shop. Like, why did you take my baby to a pawn shop?
Show him how to be a man. That's how why.
Like, why did you take my baby to a pawn shop? And he comes in, he's like, and I bought this knife.
Yeah.
And it's like a Bowie knife. It has like a case. And he's like, yeah, I got it for $10
Yeah.
at the pawn. And so he tells me about why they went to the pawn shop. I'm like, okay. So you came back with a knife and these silver coins that have like buffaloes on them.
yeah.
He's like, yeah, it's real cool. I'm like, okay. And what he was supposed to be doing was going down to River Oaks to get a gift card from Brighton for my mother-in-law for Christmas.
Yeah.
So he comes back with this gift card and a knife. Like, you didn't need the knife in River Oaks. That's like the nicest part of Houston. He's like, no, I got a knife. I'm like, oh God.
Scott and I are kin, man. Yeah,
Probably.
I got like a little bit of a story about that, so it probably tells you why I'm divorced.
Okay.
But when so my ex-wife sent me to the grocery store to buy groceries, just like
no.
normal stuff. I came home with a puppy,
I love that for you.
not even with the groceries. I forgot all about the groceries. I just came home only with a puppy.
Well, were
I
they
was like,
like-
"That's fucking
it's
awesome.
Like, so it's
Look
like
at
one of
him."
those puppies in like the see people are giving
Yeah,
away.
he was like in the parking lot
Oh,
of.
gosh.
It was like, I got look at what I got.
So you got a neighborhood special puppy.
Yeah, it was
Awesome.
great. It was great. I lost him in the divorce.
I'm sorry.
That's
She
crazy.
didn't
Yeah,
make you take it back.
You run it.
Yeah, no,
Like-
it's cool. It's all good.
It's all good now.
Yeah, me and the ex-wife are great. We're friends and stuff. But I'm just saying, there was
Yeah.
decisions like that were
Probably not so
yeah,
good.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I relate a lot to. Hey, go get this gift for mom, please.
Yeah.
I got this fucking knife. Look at this knife.
I got
It's
a
fucking-
knife. It's silver bullion.
It's awesome, right?
Yes, this makes sense.
We diversified, and I got us something to kill someone.
Yeah.
Well, what's great is now whenever we get an Amazon bag, it's like, let me use my knife.
Yeah.
Right.
The most impractical knife to open boxes with. He's like, I
'cause
got it.
It's like this long. He's like, let me use my knife. I'm like, okay, cool. With
Yeah.
all those Jordan boxes, let me use my knife.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay, honey.
Hey, attaboy.
You know. I'm like, are you going to take up wood carving for your knife? He's like, oh, I don't know. That might be a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
So what does life look like for you now? Like, yeah. How,
See. Well, now I have 2 children.
Yeah.
When I stopped drinking, I had 1. Now
Yeah.
I have 2. I work in insurance. I'm a territory manager for a large insurance company. So I get to talk to interesting people all day.
Cool.
And I do this pageant stuff to help other people, and go to boot camp a lot. After I got pregnant, I signed back up. I went to 250 camps in 2023.
Damn.
Wow.
2024, I only got 225, but we did go run with the bulls
Nice.
for like 2 weeks.
Did you do it?
Okay, so I was supposed to,
Okay.
but I got pneumonia in Spain.
Oh,
I
no.
know. I thought he thought I was faking, that I didn't Scott thought oh, she's just being a wimp, and I'm like walking around. At first we were in London and I'm like, I just don't feel good. I don't feel good. And then we're walking around Spain, or we're walking around Pamplona, which is where they run the bulls. And I'm just like, I'm not going to go with you today. I don't feel good. I'm not doing it. And so we get back to Madrid, and we took the train. Real interesting how all that works. And so we get into the hotel, and he talks to the concierge. He's like, hey, I don't know what's wrong with my wife, but do you know where I can take her to the doctor? And I had a doctor come to the hotel and test me for flu and COVID. And she listened to my lungs, and she was like, no, you have pneumonia. We're going to send you to a private hospital. And I got diagnosed with
You
pneumonia.
need to get out of our hotel.
Yeah.
Oh, well, no. Well, the hotel was very accommodating.
Were they?
They're like, do you need to extend your flight? Do you need extra days here? Like, let's,
Oh, wow.
do you need anything? And, they took an x-ray, everything. And they're like, yeah, you have like full blown pneumonia. Here's these pills. And of course they're in Spanish.
Yeah.
So we have to Google it and figure it out. It's like, what are they
Bills
giving
from
me?
another country. I wouldn't even
Yeah.
back in my addiction. I'm like, fucking give them to me.
Yeah.
I'll take them.
It's like, oh, it's real. It's in a different language. It must be real good. I'm like, okay, yeah, we have these pills.
So did
but
Scott do the bulls?
Of course he did. He left me in the hotel room to die. Yeah.
He was there.
Well,
for the
come
bulls.
on.
Well, he was like, he could have died too.
Yeah, he could
Yeah,
have.
first of all, I think his
Well-
thing was more dangerous than your thing.
Yeah.
Just being fair.
Maybe.
I mean, come on, don't be
but it's
overdramatic
not
there,
like
pageant
how-
lady.
I know.
Did they catch up to you, Scott?
Dude, I can talk about it if you want me to.
Yeah, I'm going to talk to you after this because
Yeah,
that's
well-
something I want to do. Always wanted to do it.
Well, so we want to go back. We're not going to go back in 2025, but we do want to go back in 2026. I promise I'm not going to have pneumonia this
Yeah.
time. And we're going to, I want to do it. I'm an adrenaline girl, which
Yeah.
might be why I had a problem with alcohol, because I like to be number one.
Yeah.
Best drinker, best runner, best everything.
Best bull
Best-
runner,
yeah.
drummer.
yeah,
person.
Because I need to do it, because I really wanted to do it. Now we didn't
Yeah.
get to do it, but I'm going to go back and do it.
That's pretty
So I
awesome.
want to ask you, your first son, right, Brody. He went through your addiction a little bit with you, right? Your second kid did not, right? What is the difference between you as a mom when you were drinking compared to you as a mom now, and the same difference between you as a wife when you were drinking compared to you as a wife now?
As a mom, I'm a lot more present. One of the first times we took Brody to a restaurant, we were at a Baylor Young Professional Happy Hour. Of course, I wasn't a professional; I was a stay-at-home mom at the time, and we taught him how to cheers, like with his little sippy cup. We're over here with our Belgian quads,
Yeah.
like cheers.
yeah.
And Brody, like, we didn't go do as much on Saturdays and Sundays because I could not get out of bed. Like he and Brody and Scott would go to the grocery store, buy, and I'm like, buy whatever you want. I
From being
was
hungover and
yeah,
shit?
being hungover. I would plan what we were gonna have for dinner. Like he might have gotten a lot of like mac and cheese for dinner because I was having too much fun making grown up dinner, aka gin and tonics. But he knows now that, because he's getting to the age where he notices advertisements, and he's like, "Mama, they're talking about the beer." He calls it the beer. He's like,
Yeah.
They're talking about the beer. I'm like, "Yeah, that's bad." And he goes, "Yeah, it's real bad."
Yeah.
I'm like, "It is." And he goes, "Aren't you we say that mommy's allergic to
Yeah.
alcohol?" It's like,
Got it.
"Aren't you allergic to that?" I'm like, "Yes, they are." And he's like, Oh, okay. And I explained it to him, and this is how you explain addiction. This is how I've chosen to explain alcohol. Alcohol use. My problem with Brody, he has a lot of friends that have food allergies, peanut allergies, especially in the schools. They talk a lot about peanuts, and if somebody has a peanut, they're going to go into anaphylactic shock, and they're going to have to go to the hospital. Mommy is allergic to alcohol. Mommy can't drink that, or she's going to have to go to the hospital. Now, what would that really look like? Mommy would probably drink and probably pass out and might not wake up. So it is an allergy.
Yeah.
So I say, Mommy.
So you said he has the peanut allergy?
No.
It was an allergy.
No, he has a lot of friends. Like, do you have a 16-year-old?
I have a 16-year-old and a 22-year-old.
Okay, so now in elementary school,
For some reason, yeah.
they send out every year. You get a piece of paper that says you have a child, and your child in your children's classroom has a peanut allergy or an egg allergy or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
please be mindful of the things you send home. So Brody's very adamant about we can't have any peanuts because he has a friend in the neighborhood. If he has peanut, he's gonna die.
Yeah.
Because he goes very extreme because he's related to his mother. So you know. He goes very extreme.
Yeah.
They're gonna die.
Yeah,
They're gonna
so
have to go in
no
the ambulance.
peanuts in this house with anything.
You know, it's funny. When he was in preschool, he actually they started talking about food allergies in preschool because that's kind of when all that starts.
It's kind of creepy.
They didn't do that shit
No.
when I was in school.
Well,
No,
Just whatever you
they
wanna
did it
eat,
for
you
my
ate.
kids too.
Well, here's the big
Love you,
story
dude.
though. Here's the big story though. There was a kid eating like peanut butter crackers, and Brody just starts yelling at Miss J, who's the cafeteria lady. They have peanuts.
Yeah.
They have peanuts. He's like 4 years old, and she takes it, and she's like, "Yeah, this is peanut butter. Good job, Brody." So
That's great. That's kind
Yeah.
of crazy. So there is a comedian that I like a lot. His name is Louis C.K. Got a little bit of trouble, but he had this joke called "Of course, but maybe," and he said, "Of course, it's terrible that there are peanut allergies, and it might kill somebody who eats a peanut, but maybe we ignore that for about a year,
right,
and then we have no more peanut allergies."
maybe so. Maybe so.
It's just a joke came to me.
Oh yeah. But,
Yeah, it's kind of gnarly, but
But
it's
to follow up on like how I'm different as a mom now,
Yeah.
or like as a mom, I'm a lot more present.
Yeah.
I'm a lot more aware, which I really need to be, obviously, because now Brody's he's in big kid school.
yeah.
You know, he's got like, this is the first year of the standardized testing. He's in athletic stuff. Like, I need to be aware for that.
Yeah.
And
You get to show up,
I get to show up.
right?
And as a wife, I'm not hungover all the time.
Yeah.
We can go and do things like run with the bulls. Which we never would have done if I was still drinking, because I would be really drunk on the plane and probably wouldn't have been able to get off. Like, I'm so much more aware in our marriage too. We're a lot more equal now, and we can talk about things without me just going, "Well, I'm not talking about this. I'm gonna go get a beer. Leave me alone." And we actually talk about our problems now. And so our marriage is a lot stronger than, like, I think our marriage is, when you first get married, it's lovey-dovey and you think you're
It's the greatest thing in the world.
it's great.
Yeah.
It's great for about the first like year and a half.
Yeah.
And then you have a problem. And then, that's when the first test comes. We've managed to survive 10 years of terrible tests.
Yeah.
And now we're at a place where we have a deeper understanding of each other and a deeper love for each other that we would not have if I was still actively drinking. Definitely.
Yeah, there's a clarity there.
Oh yeah. Well, and it made us grow up. Like for forever, we were just like, Brody was he was our partner. It was like, yeah, we're gonna go take it. I live in such a suburban area, y'all. They have bars that have kids menus. And so we would just take Brody to the bar with us. We went to a comedy night at a bar, sat front row. We were drinking beers. Brody's drinking soda and eating mac and cheese. And the guy made a joke about us being there. And of course I spout back at him and he was like, "She's funny."
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, we used to do stuff like that all the time and didn't think no second thoughts about it.
You're starting to see it more often now. Where I go play pickleball, it's a bar and grill. And there's a kids' playground
Yeah.
in the back of
Right.
it behind
Well,
the
how
pickleball.
many breweries do you know of that have playgrounds?
Yeah, like
They
a
all do.
bunch. There's one in Cedar Park. Like there's
Yeah.
a really nice brewery out there, and it's like got a playground, and
Yeah.
it's wild. And
Or they host 5Ks.
yeah,
It's like, yeah, go run and then drink this beer and see how you feel. Like, I've run over 100 5Ks, by the way.
Dang.
Did that. Yeah. I
I
like
need
to
to watch
run.
Sean's episode. Did you watch Sean's episode yet?
No, not yet.
Sean Livingston.
Not
He
yet.
ran 100 miles. They did a documentary on him a year and a half after
Yeah.
being a heroin and homeless homeless and
wow.
heroin.
Okay.
yeah,
But
homeless.
you can
and
watch it
heroin.
on YouTube. It's 100 Miles to Redemption. It's really good.
I will watch that.
But he started out 5K. Like
Yeah.
he was like I was just
Or he started out with the 1 mile.
he just went on like a mile run or something,
Mm-hmm.
and then he felt really proud of himself, and then did a 5K, and then he had a person with him that was like, "You can do more."
Yeah.
And he's a psycho. Like he's not like
Right.
anybody else really, but
Yeah. I could never do 100 miles at once. I did a half marathon. I've done 2 half marathons, and that's
Is that 13 miles or is it
13. Yeah.
13.1.
And I 13.1. You gotta get
there,
that
don't
point
forget
one
about
in
the
there.
one. I mean, you're running
important.
13 miles. That's important.
Well, you fall
Yeah.
at 13, you didn't finish.
That's
fucker.
true.
What?
If you fall at 13, you didn't
Yeah,
finish
you
it.
didn't finish.
run it.
You got that point one.
You got to get
Yeah,
that
you
point
gotta get
one in
that
there.
point one in there.
Yeah. So, but I've heard this, and maybe you can talk a little bit better about this. But running a half marathon, a lot of people say if you can run a half marathon, you can do the whole one. Like it's,
So, well, you want to know a story about my first half marathon?
yeah. Let's talk about it.
I might have been borderline hungover when I ran it.
All right. See, so you could
Because I
have
was
done a
real
whole
good at so we went out. So we ran. It's the Bearathon. It's in Waco, and it's something I'd always wanted to do, and I trained for it. And of course, the night before we go out, and we're celebrating me being there, and I have a couple cocktails and maybe a beer. I don't remember, but I'm like not feeling good at all, and I throw up, and I'm like, oh, whatever. But I'm just gonna go run this thing, and yeah, I was throwing up because I was really drunk, but apparently I was like newly pregnant with Brody.
Oh,
So I ran a half marathon, a little bit pregnant, a little bit hungover, because they tell you you've got about a 6-8 week mark where probably nothing's going to happen. But yeah, that was crazy. And then when he was a year old, I ran the Dallas half marathon, which is at White Rock. It's beautiful. But race culture is, and I've really looked for races now that there's not alcohol involved, which is really hard because after a lot of, like, for example, the Dallas marathon, after you finish, it's sponsored by like Bud Light.
Yeah.
And you get free drink tickets and, you can go and drink afterwards. So and that's how a lot of the 5Ks we used to do. They were sponsored by, there's a great one that we used to do. This is pre-children in Dallas on St. Patty's Day. You run and then you get unlimited Guinness.
oh
Like,
man,
yes.
yeah.
But yeah, like so much about recreational running culture revolves around alcohol.
Yeah.
But
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Does it bother you when you're around alcohol now?
It doesn't bother me. What bothers me is when I can see where people have had maybe one too many and their eyes get glassy. Yeah. And then they say stuff where it's kind of like, do you realize what you're saying? You've told me this same story 3 times.
Yeah.
Like,
See, my fiance gets a little jealous when people can drink and not go ruin their life.
oh, okay.
So she's like, how come they can do it, but I can't do it?
Well, I figured
type
out
thing.
people do really stupid stuff when they drink. Like I was at a happy hour where I was the only one not drinking, and this was I was the only one not drinking, and this woman that I know asked me a question. She goes, "Oh, are you not drinking? Are you and Scott going for another kid? Are you going through IVF or something?" No, I haven't drank in 3 years.
Yeah.
Or like how many times you get asked that you're pregnant if you're not drinking? Like every time. So I guess how long is she not?
2 years.
So it's like a muscle. It's like anything when you go to the gym and you start
About a
doing.
year off of alcohol, 2 years off drugs.
Okay. Well, tell her congratulations about her. But when you go to the gym, When you start lifting, you don't start with 300 pounds.
No.
If you're doing deadlifts, you don't start with a huge amount of weight. You start with a little bit. You start maybe with the bar or maybe with dumbbells. and you build yourself up. And that's kind of the point where I've gotten today is I can be around it, but when people start to overdo it and I see it, I try to remove myself because that's what makes me sad. It's like you realize you've just had like 5 drinks in 2 hours. You don't see that this is like not so good for you. Yeah. And it goes back to what you were saying is like you can still be an alcoholic and only drink once.
Right.
It's like these people, they get in these public settings and it's fine.
Yeah.
It's not fine.
Well, yeah, because then you're the outsider.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't really care about being an outsider
Well,
anymore.
yeah, but some people can adopt that. Like,
Sorry, that was just funny. She doesn't care about being an outsider.
Yeah.
I don't care. I really don't care anymore.
I don't give a shit.
that's the way it should be.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, I mean, it's so I'm a drinker still, but I can like have a beer or two and then I'm done
You're good.
for like the next week or two,
Yeah.
maybe even, right? And it wasn't always like that. It got that way when I started doing this. Like I started really paying attention to why I drink instead of just doing it out of muscle memory or just because I can, right? And
Yeah.
now I am in a lot of situations where I'm around friends that I used to drink heavily with. And they're still my friends. Still
Have
love
you
them.
started noticing in like media or shows you're watching people that like how often beer or alcohol or drinks are in all that
This has really opened my eyes to a lot of that. Like a lot of
subliminal marketing?
just subliminal stuff and even just being around my brothers who I've drank with them a lot, my friends and I'll be the only one not drinking in a whole group of 6 or 7 people. And it's I start noticing this. I'm like, man, was I this dumb with them?
Oh yeah.
Like,
Maybe
you know
even
what I mean?
worse.
Like,
Maybe even
worse.
dumber.
yeah,
Maybe
maybe
worse.
even
More
worse.
moronic.
But yeah. So, but yeah, I definitely see what you're saying. And then I think I told you, Rachel put out something. We talked about it before, but it was like normalize not asking why when somebody says they don't drink, like because that's always the thing. Even if you're a guy,
Oh yeah.
it's like why? Like, what's wrong with you? Why aren't you drinking?
Right.
Like, it should probably be normalized not to ask that question if
Yeah,
somebody's not having a drink.
It is. I mean, you wouldn't if you're outside waiting, standing there. Why are you not smoking a cigarette? Like we don't ask that.
Yeah.
Maybe you just want to be outside.
Yeah.
But yeah, people sometimes get really freaked out when you're not drinking and they ask that question and it's like, well, and I've started where I just tell people like, yeah, I'm sober. Isn't that great for me?
Right.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah. And then they go away. Or they ask me more questions like, oh, how long has that been? Or I'll have like, do y'all do NAs? Okay.
I'm
So
going to one tonight.
so I'll have like a Heineken Zero at an event, and it's like
Oh, hold on. Do you mean
Oh, she's
Narcotics
talking
Anonymous?
no, like Heineken Zeros or anything like that. No,
I thought
yes.
you meant Narcotics Anonymous. Yeah, I'm going to Charisma
I
Anonymous
have.
tonight.
Yeah, I have. I've like very recently I've grabbed those instead.
Yeah.
I have
Do
friends
they
that
have
do.
no alcohol in them?
Yeah.
Right.
yeah, they have no alcohol in them.
I have friends that do
Yeah.
it, and to me, it's just like,
What's the point?
what's the
So
point?
I was in a movie, and it was at a bar when I first got out of recovery, and they gave me one of those. Wasn't a Heineken. It was something.
A duels.
It tasted so much like beer
Did it? Was
that
it
I wanted a
bad?
beer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, dude, this doesn't. I had to tell the people like, hey, I can't drink this.
Yeah, I've had that happen with a couple where like there was one. It was a stout, and I used to drink stouts like water.
Yeah.
And it was too close. I was like, nope.
I mean, the bottle and everything looked
Yeah.
like it was a beer.
Yeah.
And I drank it, and I was like, wow. I said, that actually it tasted so good.
Oh,
and
yeah,
I was
it
like,
was-
yeah, I don't want
But like what I'll do if I'm going to like a social event or something for work is the bars have gotten to where they'll have a Heineken Zero. I'll get it. I'll just open it and they'll just kind of walk around like, and I might sip it a little bit because because that doesn't, it's not a temptation for me.
Yeah.
And they'll ask me like, "Oh, well, you have a Heineken Zero. You're not really sober then? You're not really." I'm like, "I'm not. Thank you for questioning my sobriety.
Yeah.
Would you like to have a deeper conversation about this?" Or like, I don't drink kombucha. I think it's disgusting. But I had a friend who's like, "Well, if you drink kombucha, it's got trace alcohol. It's got alcohol." I'm like,
Yeah.
like,
yeah, go fuck yourself.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like,
Yeah.
that's kind of what I feel. So
it's crazy though, but people think they can, like, they're like, "Well, you're not meeting what I think it is, even though you're an uneducated person and you don't know anything about me, but you're going to question my sobriety?"
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you, friend. Next.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I don't drink. I don't drink because of this podcast. I know for 100%, and I probably shouldn't say this on camera, but I've never been an alcoholic. I was a drug addict. I know that I could drink and not even care to take a second one, but I refuse to lose my sobriety over it.
Right.
So that's the reason that I don't drink. Now, if you put meth in front of me, there's no telling when I would stop. If I did meth.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say?
I drink 12 Heineken NAs as an experiment.
How did
Like,
you feel?
this was not that long ago.
Yeah. How'd you
And
feel?
I didn't feel anything. Like, I
Okay.
was, so to all those naysayers out there, I was like, I'm just going to give it a whirl. I want to see if you get any kind of buzz from drinking a 12 pack of them.
Right.
All I had to do was piss.
A lot.
And
Yeah.
I was like that. And as a matter of fact, at Walgreens, I got the breathalyzer, and I blew a 0.0 from having 12,
Right.
12 of
12.
those. So
Yeah, you should have done a podcast episode about that. Like, some
yeah,
sort of
I
weird
could have sat here and
YouTube-
just drank
Yeah,
them.
you should have.
Maybe y'all could do a YouTube video like this.
Do a short.
Yeah.
Yeah, do a
Or
short.
maybe they'll sponsor us.
Yeah. I mean, that'd be cool.
Athletic Brewing. That's all they do.
Yeah.
Or the breathalyzer thing.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. It was a cheap breathalyzer, probably not the one that the cops use or whatever.
Right.
I
but-
was in Walgreens yesterday, and they had a fentanyl tester. Did you know they had that?
yeah, dude.
Oh,
No,
really?
they
You can
had
test
that?
your drugs
Yeah.
for fentanyl now.
They got Narcan and fentanyl
Well, I bought
testers.
some
Yeah.
Narcan yesterday.
Yeah, I
just
have-
to have some just in case.
I have my 16-year-old son has Narcan in his backpack.
Cool.
And
Well,
like,
because school, like drugs when we were in school versus the drugs they have on the street today, they might have some fentanyl in them.
no, I mean,
you
it's,
know?
Most
it's
of them
you
probably
can't
do.
really tell. You
Yeah.
can't tell anymore. Like, even if you're getting a pill from, and they're telling you it's a Percocet, and you
right.
think it's a Percocet, and it's from Mexico
Or an
or
Adderall.
wherever, or an
Thinking-
Adderall or whatever. It's like, so my son and my ex-wife, we had a conversation about it, and my ex-wife was like, "Why is he carrying this?" And I was like, "Not for him, because if it happens to him, that's not gonna help him.
Right.
But this is for somebody else that
I mean, they
it
could
might
take
happen
it at
to."
school
So
and
it's sad to do that. I mean, I told my son that too. I was like, "Man, I'm really bummed that I have to do this
Talk to you about this.
and have to send you with this, but
I think in 2021
you might save somebody's life."
I saw a stat in 2021 that 70,000 people died of fentanyl overdose.
Oh, it's
And
probably
I think it's almost 200,000 a year now.
it's.
Really?
That's a lot.
That's crazy. That's
I think they say they could fill up a plane
yeah.
every day.
Yeah, I've
with
heard that
people.
too. You could put like people like fill a Boeing 737 and they just drop from the sky every day and that's
Yeah.
how many people die.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nuts. Well, thank you for coming on.
You're welcome.
This was fantastic,
Great episode.
and I'm such a fan of this episode for a couple reasons. I told you, number one, alcohol is always one. Alcohol only is one that fascinates me, and working your way and navigating your way through it because it's everywhere. You know, so kudos to you and your family and your girlfriends for being a community for yourself. And just through talking to you, I don't know if you guys picked up on this, like just her saying you kind of worked the 12-step program.
I meant to
without,
say that, actually.
Yeah,
I
like
worked
you,
it in
you
secret,
kind
I
of.
guess.
Dope you picked that up.
Yeah, like I meant to say
That's
that
crazy.
like
Good shit.
a minute ago, but it was like you kind of did it on your own,
Right.
Like it was.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about it, and that's pretty fascinating.
I'm so glad you caught that.
Yeah,
Oh, thank you.
yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
yeah. No, when you leave or you get out of here, look up the 12 steps. And I don't know if you did them in order,
Yeah.
but you definitely did them. Like you might have missed one or two in there, but
I mean, you basically work the essential, essence of the program, which is surrender, and then to establish an internal connection with God. You know,
Make amends.
Yep.
yep, and then continue on, right? Like just keep working. So the other reason why I'm really excited, and I mentioned this to begin with, is you are so much more the face of this than so many other people, and being so brave. I know it's not easy coming on here and sharing your story. You made it look really easy, but I know it's not, and couldn't appreciate that more. And this is going to help a lot of people.
Yeah.
And so I just appreciate that. So thank you, Scott, for coming in and being her bodyguard. You see, she had nothing to worry about with our dumbasses. But yeah, just like that. I think we got another one in
How
the
do
books
people
here.
find you?
Yeah, talk to them about that.
I have a website. It's emilycbonds.com. That's also my handle. Is that the right word? Handle?
Yeah.
On Instagram and TikTok.
awesome.
Emily C. Bond.
Yep. Bonds with an S.
Oh, Bonds. Okay.
Yeah. It's like Jane Bond, but
Yeah.
James, but with an S on the end.
Multiple Bonds.
Yes.
Yeah, you're multiple. You're so badass.
I try.
You're multiple. So before you leave, gonna you sign the wall?
Okay.
Yeah, you're getting on the wall of fame. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, thank you so much for coming in, and we appreciate it. And like I've always told every single person who comes in and sits there, you are part of our family now. And if you ever need us for anything, let us know.
I will.
And that seat will always be open to you anytime you're around, and those seats will definitely be open if you ever just want to come check
So
one
when I
out.
win my national title, I can come crown.
Hell
and
yeah.
Hell
So
yeah.
I tell you what, if you win
Absolutely.
your national title, you're coming on here. This is gonna be part of the run. You're part of
We
your
might have to put a 2 Addicts and More on sponsorship.
Yeah.
That would be amazing.
if you make it to the nationals, we're definitely gonna get in on that for sure.
Yeah. Well, state pageant is actually Saturday, so hopefully things go my way. And the national pageant, pageant system I'm currently competing in, their nationals is in July in Allen, Texas, the Allen Event Center. They also play hockey there. But-
Well, you got our number, so let us know how it goes.
oh, I will.
And good
I will.
luck.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hopefully you get after it. Well, episode whatever of Two Addicts and a Moron. I don't know anymore.
47.
Keep liking, subscribing, notification bells, whistles.
Reach out to us.
Reach out to us. Look, reach out to us. You might end up on the fucking couch.
Right.
This is proof of it right here. So, love you guys. Two Addicts and a Moron. Over and out.